then so is Adam, and he's sticking around to give us the good stuff. As you guys know, as Wisdom Plus members, we always do a little bit more with our wonderful guests. And goodness knows Adam is a real find for this show because, I mean, you're getting a blend of intuition and logic. And I have some questions for him that go a little deeper here. So, Adam, thanks for being with us and sticking around. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Good stuff. Is there, before I sort of ask my list of questions, is there anything that occurs to you that you thought, maybe I should have said that, or, I like to say this and I didn't get an opportunity to say that in the main feed?
Yeah. You had a great question around my approach to the Akashic Records. And I just wanted to also add my personal approach and then how I advise my own clients too. I gave an answer that's more of the beginner level approach
Sure.
to the Akashic Records and with decision making. But, for those who stuck around, more the advanced side of things, I do approach my intuition from a very logical point, generally the majority of the time. However, more the advanced part of things is when you don't see a solution logically or even know where to start, I actually start on the intuitive side. If I'm feeling lost or not sure where to go, or if I am attuned to my intuition, I will naturally receive information. And so, for example, I know maybe some of your listeners have experienced this before, but if you're like in the shower and you get this download or this information, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea, and make decisions from there. So if that happens, I will typically acknowledge the information that I receive.
Mhm.
I often thank, you know, for that information and I express gratitude. And then from there, I sit with what came through, what I received, and then look at things logically. So I flip it. But I think for me and the folks that I typically support who are very analytically driven, the intuitive side is kind of difficult. And so I say advanced because if you're not attuned to your intuition, knowing how to recognize it, knowing how to clarify the information that comes through can be very, very challenging. But typically, I start with the logical side, but I have trusted more and more if I get information from my intuition or if I'm not sure where to turn, I will start with the intuitive side. So I flip,
I see. Yeah.
um, depending on what the situation calls for.
Right. I got it. Do you interact with any energies on that side? Like, is there a librarian? I've always, you hear some people talk about librarians or spirit guides that are kind of responsible for the Akashic records. Or is this just sort of a channel that you open? Like, how does it work for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know, like, during my time learning about the Akashic Records, I was given an opportunity to know the names of entities that were supporting me. But for whatever reason, I'm a very, like, quick decision maker, and it didn't resonate for me to get into that level of detail. So I naturally, when I approach the Akashic Records, approach it with if I'm receiving something, it is coming from a place of care, of love, and I just receive it, trust it, and move forward. I know a lot of intuitives and those who are in the woo space probably dive a little deeper. Like, where are you from? What's your history? What's your name? I need to know your backstory. And for me, I'm just like, I just didn't care. I'm like, if I'm receiving information, I will trust it and I mean, there are points where I want to make sure that it's coming from a place of love and for my highest good. And
Mhm.
if that feels right, then I will keep moving. But for me, behind the scenes, I didn't really care what planet are you from or what dimension are you from? Are you an
Mhm.
archangel? For me, I just am appreciative and keep moving forward. So I don't know if that helps or not.
No, that's great. That's really great. Actually, it's kind of in keeping with your logic,
Yeah.
in many ways.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
you're looking for the information. You don't really care about the backstory or whatever else is going on. I would imagine that
Yeah.
when you go into a restaurant, you order a steak and you don't talk to the waitress about, where she grew up, right?
Exactly, exactly. Well, unless I guess, yeah, unless you're curious, but yeah,
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah, you're all business. That's good. That's good. Hey, listen, that makes a ton of sense. And especially in the line of work that you're in, where you're trying to give high value and you're working with people that they don't want any nonsense, right? They're not interested in, what color outfit is this spirit guide walking where the information is coming from. They just want to solve the problem in their business, right? So
Right.
I
Yeah.
respect your approach because, some practitioners might go into the whole backstory and, oh yeah, this is, whatever the person or the spirit's name is and what planet they're from or how long they've been there or, I mean, this color there, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm curious as a guy who asks a lot of questions. I'm always curious, but look, it's business. We're trying to get a solution here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Are
Yeah.
there
I've
any,
approached it very practical.
yeah, yeah, it's a real practical woo. I always thought that would be a good name for a show too. The practical woo, maybe, um,
Yeah.
are there any no-goes? Well, this actually, I've got two more questions, a couple more questions, but yeah, are there any no-go zones here in the Akashic Records? The things that you can ask or shouldn't ask?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yes, there are ethical considerations around the record. So, for example, if I'm giving a reading to someone, can only do a reading for that individual, not for someone else. There are a couple other ethical considerations. So, for example, if you are a parent and you want your child records to be opened, I have to get permission. If the child's a minor, I have to get permission from the parent. And then there are other areas, I think, depending on the Akashic reader, ethically, what is appropriate and what is not. Like, for example, I don't dive into the health aspects of an individual as much. I just kindly suggest for them to see a doctor unless there is something that I'm receiving that's important. But I try to make that pretty clear that this is information that's for your personal growth. And if there's something medically that needs to be addressed, I will kindly let the client know to go see that expert for whatever sort of topic. There are other things like I try to make it pretty clear I'm not a medium. I'm not as I'm familiar, but I don't practice mediumship. And so I've tried to make that pretty clear. And then otherwise, my other sort of big thing is with the records, it is for providing care, love, joy, and anything that is positive.
Mhm,
I don't use the records for anything that is fear based, lack based, or limitation based.
mhm.
The records are a very high vibration sort of tool and resource, and I approach it in that manner. So if it's like giving a reading for someone who wants to do something bad to someone else, that doesn't work for me.
Right,
So
right. I would imagine if somebody did want to use it for an illicit purpose like that, I would almost be surprised if the information came through anyway. I mean, you know,
right. Yeah. 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 Essentially, like where you're at on your journey is the information you will receive.
mhm,
So if you're looking for information that's more harmful or fear based, yeah, I doubt you might receive it because it's a very loving sort of energy.
no access to information about how the political situation will look during the next election
No,
cycle.
no, probably not. No, not unless there's a reason.
Right. There you go. Or it applies to you personally, directly, or whatever. Yeah, makes sense.
Exactly. Exactly.
Can you share with us, obviously keeping in mind privacy, any stories of clients that sort of surprised you, that caught you off guard, or you got information that you were like, "Huh, that's really interesting."
Yeah, well, one thing for your listeners that is very unique if someone decides to go into the Akashic Records modality is any information that a reader receives is also typically a message for them. Like meaning if I'm giving a reading to a client and I receive a message, it is like a dual purpose. Like it's a message for me and the client. So, with that in mind, yeah, I've received some interesting answers to a client's question that was very applicable to me. So, for example, I remember giving just generally a reading for someone who was moving through money issues. The person was concerned about their money situation. They were going to make decisions that could be financially risky. And the person wasn't really comfortable with that situation. And so, what came through was instead of grabbing for money and taking action to make it happen, the solution that came through was basically drawing it toward you and being and embodying abundance and financial wealth from a state of resonance versus being coming from a place of fear and wanting to make things happen. And so it was very applicable to me because it's when I was starting to be an entrepreneur and had to come to terms with my situation with money and, keeping up my own sort of financial commitments.
Yeah.
So that was a big unlock when I gave that reading, how to shift my mindset around money.
Very good. Well, it's interesting, right? So you kind of piggyback on the value. I mean, if you're in your Akashic records every day, there's all kinds of fantastic information there. And so there's got to be some
Oh
learnings
yeah.
for you too and what you're up to, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. It's great. Totally recommend it if your listeners aren't using the Akashic records.
Yeah, it sounds like a very powerful modality. So, well, that's really great. Any
Oh
fin-
yeah.
any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I will say, I think, I know I mentioned it on the main show, but for those who stuck around behind the scenes, if you're curious on how to really integrate the woo and intuition, I do think any kind of modality that resonates with you, not necessarily the Akashic records, it could be a pendulum, it could be, any other approach, remote viewing or whatnot. I think what's really important right now is tapping into that intuitive side to help navigate you and move from a place of resonance and not always push from a logical point of view. My FBI background really set me up to be an entrepreneur, but I don't think it really fully prepared me to be a new business owner. And so I've really switched over to the woo side to help me navigate things blindly. Because when you start to make decisions blind, especially logically, it can be very scary. But if you are attuned and in alignment with yourself, both logically and intuitively, you can do anything, whether blind or not.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Great. Great advice. Adam R. Dickinson. You can find him on LinkedIn. Adam, tell us about your website again one more time.
Yeah, so it's a website that will be released soon. It's in the works, but adamrdickinson.com is my new website. So hopefully everything will be good to go by the time this is released.
Sure. Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
but on LinkedIn, yeah, Adam-R-Dickinson, you can find me there.
Well, we'll put it all in the show notes. And if it's not live, because actually, you know what? I've got a couple in the can here, but I'm actually inclined to release this sooner rather than later. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll talk about it. But in the meantime, thanks so much again for your time and for your wisdom. A heck of a woo wisdom, given the show name. But I love the blend of the logic and intuition. I think that's highly valuable, and I think that's where the world's going. So, and my intuition tells me your business is going to do really well as you progress forward into the future.
Oh, good. Well, fingers crossed, Andy. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And if as you develop the business, come on back, in 6 months or a year or whatever, whenever it makes sense, and let's talk more about this because I imagine as you develop your client base, you'll have lots more fascinating stories to tell as the business matures.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, thanks so much. All right, folks. Well, that's it for us. Thank you, Adam, for being with me and for providing such great value. Everybody, you guys can get access to Adam's bio, his LinkedIn link, and his soon to be website in the show notes at woowisdom.com. And once again, thanks so much for being a Woo Wisdom Plus member. We really appreciate the support of the show. And we hope you share it with your people that you think could get value from guys like Adam. And if you really think that Adam resonates with you or the Akashic Records is something you're interested in, please do reach out to him because I think he'd be interested in hearing from you. So in the meantime, as you guys know, my name is Andy Walker. This is Woo Wisdom. Don't forget, stay in the woo.